season champions and now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
It's going to be a really, really busy week, everybody. So as we welcome you on the air, we have a ton to tell you because Jordan Scott, Isaac Sleba-Tautia, and Verone McKinley just wrapped up the latest Zoom press conference for Oregon football. We have that for you coming up momentarily as Scott Phillips continues to do 3 jobs at once. I think I am doing half a job. But Scott's doing 3, I do half. And so we have those interviews for you coming up. Also this weekend, Andy Avalos met with the media talking about some changes to the Oregon defense, not just for personnel. Running that base 4-3, we're going to talk about that with Andy Avalos. Also, Joe Moorhead. He talked about the quarterback battle. New Oregon offensive coordinator also broke down that offensive line, the way things are looking after now 3 Oregon football practices. The Ducks worked out on Friday and Saturday, and today they were in shells out at the practice fields. And, well, let's just say that as I was walking toward the studio, you could hear a little bit of the pop again, and it sure did sound like football, and it was cool to hear that again out on the practice fields. Rob Mosley with his daily practice reports on GoDucks.com, of course. And mentioned that today we'll hear from Coach Avalos, Coach Moorhead. We'll also have Jordan Scott, Isaac Sleba-Tautia, and Verone McKinley. We will hopefully be able to finish up our interview with Dan Rubenstein from the Solid Verbal Podcast, one of the most popular college football podcasts out there. He's an Oregon graduate, so we had some fun catching up with Dan. Last week, we didn't get to his entire interview with so many Oregon football interviews, so we've got that for you. Kurt asked, hey, are they going to let people into the stadium for games this year? No. All Pac-12 venues will not have fans. At least that's as it stands right now. Obviously, everything can change rapidly, and let's all hope that things change for the better. Other Facebook comments and questions. I did get one last week, and I want to clarify because I saw that somebody actually asked Mosley on Twitter about this, so I want to clarify about TV times. So last week, we had said that hopefully we'd hear some TV times. If I misspoke, that's my bad. But hopefully we would hear some TV times as different TV slots were being reported. So where things are right now, the TV windows are still those 12-day windows or the 6-day windows for TV selections. Remember, that's how it works, that the TV networks, there's kind of a rotating order the way they pick the game times and things like that. So there's still a lot up in the air, but the Ducks are awaiting their first TV times for those 12- and 6-day windows. But anyway, to be honest, I can't remember who asked Rob that question, but if I misspoke last week on the show, that's my bad. We were just hopeful that maybe we would have some early confirmation of TV times, but we don't have them yet. That's kind of the big update. Our Toyota OSN Classic this weekend was a lot of fun. Tomorrow we will do defensive line on Great Ducks. If you missed our Toyota OSN Classics, 11 a.m. Every Saturday, we're on the air live from Autzen Stadium. And we also will have Great Ducks tomorrow, 5 o'clock across the Oregon Sports Network, and, of course, on the Oregon football social media channels as well. I think that's pretty much the update. And so now it's time for me to do what I do best, which is get out of the way and let you listen to the people who actually make decisions about football and you actually want to hear from. Andy Avalos, Oregon defensive coordinator, part 1 of 2, as he met with the media this weekend discussing the Oregon defense with defensive coordinator Andy Avalos.
Wanted to go over several things in the secondary, so I'll try and keep it condensed. But you've got Jordan coming in. He played field safety for you, obviously, with some of the departures and opt-outs. Nickel's open, so what's kind of the pecking order at field safety and nickel and how you want to go about handling that? And what impact does all of these moving parts have on dime, where you started to do that a little bit in the spring, but that was kind of relying on Thomas and Javon being there?
No question. So a big part of camp always is working to develop dependable depth. And so what does that mean? That means building a 2 deep. Obviously, we've got to find the best starting group as well. So guys rotating in at safety and nickel to the field. There's going to be some guys competing. Jamal Hill's done an excellent job through the offseason and done a really, really nice job to start camp, as well as having guys like Verone and Bennett and J-Hap, and J-Hap's played nickel as well too. So there's a lot of guys out there that can do a nice job playing that position, as well as Nick Pickett. So We have some guys that do have experience. Some obviously a lot more than others, and the competition and the way they work together and put all the moving parts together has been really exciting. Now, as we move into the sub packages, as we get more into camp, we got to build our nickel and our base defenses first, and then we'll be able to move from there and find out really where we're at.
Wondering if you'd give us a little profile on Jordan Happel and what you expect to see out of this guy.
Yeah, so obviously Jordan's an unbelievable young man, and very blessed to have him join us and obviously get his first day out there at practice today. The first time he jumped in there, I was doing something and I heard him make a call out in the field, and I just, it's been a little while since I heard that voice out there, being the quarterback back there in the defense. So it was fun to see him out there today, and there are some things that are a little different that he'll pick up and he'll learn, but he's tremendously smart, and he is very humbled to be here and very excited.
Curious, what can you expect? What do you typically expect in year two of a defense? Like, a lot of experienced guys kind of know what it's expected of them. What are those growths that you expect year two of a defense?
Yeah, Matt. So number one, our mentality's got to grow. The culture of our defense obviously is got to be. It's always got to be growing forward. Our mentality's got to grow forward with the culture, and what does that mean? That's our operation. That's how we prepare. Guys understand what it means to prepare now, and not only to prepare, but to do it consistently. And those are the things you want to see in the growth in year two. Year one, guys are trying to learn and figure out not just the schemes, the defense, the fundamentals, the techniques, but also the process of how we prepare, whether we're in camp, whether we're in the season. And so now in year number two, we would hope, that those have become habits, and we're going to continue to emphasize those things in our preparation so that the consistency will show. And then obviously schematically, from year to year, you're always going to adjust a few things. You're going to do some professional development. You're going to look and see, okay, we got to get better at these things. Hey, maybe we can add this, or maybe we don't need to do this. Maybe this player that is going to step in this year is going to be better at doing this. So we'll adjust some of those things, again, always to fit the personnel.
Hey, Coach, you walked away with one of the top defense recruiting classes in the nation last year, and you're integrating those, those guys into this year's team. But at linebacker, we had you as the top recruiting class in the nation linebacker. What are your expectations, out of this young group, particularly at the linebacker position, these incoming freshmen?
You know what is always the hardest thing about playing as a true freshman is, number one, you're away from home. There's a lot of maturity that it takes. And so just helping them grow off the field and get used to their new surroundings, where they're at. We do have an advantage that, some of those guys did enroll early and have been here throughout the summer, off and on, obviously with the COVID restrictions that we've had. But on the field wise, we're making serious progress. We're making serious progress with a lot of the freshmen. Again, we've had a lot of time to Zoom, and the time during the summer that we've used, all that stuff is paying off, because they are doing a tremendous job, both the linebackers, the guys in the front, some of the D linemen, and obviously some of the guys in the secondary.
Andy, obviously you thought you'd have Brady and Thomas and Javon this year, and that, with all the stops and starts and the abbreviated schedule and everything, they made a decision to leave. And then on the flip side, Yamador comes back. What were those conversations like, and how hard were those decisions for all those guys?
You know what? That's this year has obviously been that way, just in general. So this year has been a year of a lot of listening, a lot of conversations on a lot of different things, on a lot of different matters. And ultimately, just with, like you said, all the stop and start, and it's at times guys are going to have to do what's best for them. And we love those guys, and we wish them nothing but the best. But ultimately, we're focused on who's here right now and the guys that we're developing to, create the 2020 Ducks. And we're extremely excited about the guys that are here. And the two practices and the prep leading up to these practices have been phenomenal in terms of the positivity. Because let's just be honest, there's a lot that even outside of football that people have had to overcome in this year. And it's been our safe haven to come practice, to come prepare, to have fun, to be around each other. And so we're really excited. Now, again, the consistency is going to come with us keeping that energy every day so that we can.
That's Andy Avalos, the Oregon defensive coordinator. He met with the media on Saturday after the Ducks' second practice. Jordan Happel is here. Kind of cool hearing him talk about a guy that he coached at Boise State. Now here's a grad transfer for Oregon. Helps fill in that secondary, gives the Ducks some experience. And we're going to hear from Verone McKinley coming up a little later on today. If not today, if we don't have time to get to it, then we'll definitely get to it tomorrow. Because we're going to go rapid fire on the show today and hear more from Andy Avalos coming up. This is Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Feels like football camp. Inside the Country Financial Studio, more after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield IMG College.
All right, everybody in the car. Let's go.
What are we gonna do first when we get there, Mom? Go for a hike?
Sure.
What about canoeing? Can we go canoeing too?
I don't see why.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
It's not that far, sweetie.
Are we there yet?
Yep, we're here.
Already?
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
They say that car crashes happen in slow motion. The reality is that crashes happen fast. There's no time to think and no time to check if your child is in the right car seat. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your kids in the right seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Get more info at safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Joey Mack welcoming you back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Tons of interviews for you today. Andy Avalos, Joe Moorhead, Verone McKinley, Isaac Slade-Matautia, Jordan Scott, Dan Rubenstein from the Solid Verbal as well. Jackson's Food Store is proud sponsor of the University of Oregon Ducks. Stop by your neighborhood Jackson's for all your game day essentials, everyday specials on game day necessities. You'll be ready for anything the big game brings. Go Ducks. Andy Avalos, part 2. Go Ducks.
Hey, Andy, thanks for doing this. I know we talked a little bit earlier about the linebackers in this freshman group. Just specifically with Justin Flo and Noah Sewell, being on the field at the same time and kind of seeing that. Talk a little bit about how you kind of see them complementing each other in this defense.
Well, they're extremely talented, number one, right? And we see their physical attributes, their ability to move, their explosiveness. But the thing is, they're tremendously driven. They're some of the most driven young men that we've ever been around. And their football IQs are going to allow, in combination with how driven they are, to pick these things up, to be on the field, to play together. They both are three-phase linebackers. Obviously, they can fit the run game. They both can blitz, and they both can cover. And that's what we're really excited about. It allows us to be multiple in a lot of different ways.
Hey, Andy. Question about nickel. I know that's a spot that Javon played almost exclusively last year. Jamal was his understudy. Why is Jamal a good fit for that position, and maybe run through a couple other guys that could kind of fit into that rotation?
Yeah, Jamal was a backup nickel last year, so very, very much so. Body type, physicality, ability to cover, man-to-man ability to cover in zones, ability to handle all that stuff mentally. There's a lot that goes into that nickel spot. So Jamal is a guy that can play that position, as well as the field safeties. That's a transition naturally that allows us to play different guys at that position. And then another guy that's got a tremendous amount of work there too is Nick Pickett. So we're excited about building our best lineup and getting our best, number one, our best ones on the field, and then developing that dependable depth to give us our best twos, and then even working our way on from there with the threes.
Wanted to ask you first about the competition at weak side between Drew and MJ in general, and if Justin can get in the mix there and how quickly. And also, if 4-3 is actually going to matter more this year than in years past, because with the short schedule, Stanford, Cal, Washington, even UCLA and Oregon State rely on a lot of multi-tight end packages, and you only have Wazoo and maybe a South Division opponent who's going to be a 4 or 5 wide set team by base offense.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, you hit a lot of valid points there. The young linebackers will work in they're getting considerable amount of reps with the twos. So yes, they are working in with those guys. We're working to find our best lineup, our best second team and beyond there. With the schedule that we have slated, there are a lot of pro style teams, as you mentioned. That's a very valid point there. And so being able to play against those bigger sets and making sure that we can handle and operate out of the 4-3 and do some different things will be a big priority, as well as being able to still work at a nickel. We played a lot of nickel to those teams last year as well. It allows us to be very multiple and play the whole playbook.
This time, or beginning of the year last year, Adrian Jackson was going to be a starter for you guys. Then he got hurt, obviously, and missed the year. What does he bring to the table this season? And I guess another guy that's going to be a better year conditioned is Mace Funa outside as well, because of his injury as a senior. What do you just kind of expect from those two guys for your linebackers this year?
Yeah, and there's no question. I mean, we're excited to have Ajax back out there. He's explosive now. His twitch and his speed is different. So and where he fits in, obviously, over there with Mace and being able to play and do some different things as well, helping at other positions will be awesome for our defense. He brings another dynamic, again, just in terms of his explosiveness and his speed. So we're excited about him. And, Mace is like having another coach out there. So
with the shortened season and the virus and the eligibility rules different now, there's no really red shirt this season. Does that allow you to maybe take chances on guys and play more guys without losing their red shirt season? Does it give you a bit more freedom to kind of look at guys in game?
We've got to get everybody ready to play. There's just a lot of moving pieces, a lot of different things that we don't control that can affect who can be available. So right now we are trying to build more than a 2 deep. And that's where some of the younger guys that may, be in the threes right now, but we're trying to build them to always be ready to hop right into that second string. And we have to your point, yes, that was one of our first objectives that Coach Cristobal set out for us, as well as building our culture as strong as it's ever been, is building the depth of this team and building everybody and preparing everybody. And you know what, the coaches, we're excited about getting the opportunity to do that. And so we'll see. Obviously, it's not guaranteed that everybody's going to ever play, but we're going to do our very best to prepare everybody.
Andy, last year in camp, the offense talked about, having that veteran offensive line and obviously a quarterback, how they could do so much more with that experience. With your defensive line, this is those guys have been together for a long time, the starters anyway. Does that give you the freedom to do more things in camp, and how are they bringing up the younger guys along behind them?
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, those guys are awesome. It is a veteran group now. So, it still comes down to their consistency and them growing, and that's where we want to keep it for them. We want to make sure our focus is still to develop them, because they still have room to develop. The experience they have is unbelievable and it's awesome, but there are still a lot of things that they can get better at. How we operate consistently with our fundamentals and our technique, is going to determine how successful we are up front. And they've done a tremendous job relaying that message to the young players and trying to instill that into the young players. And we're very excited about the way those guys are working with their mentality and their attitude. It's unbelievably fun to be around those guys out there at practice right now.
A couple takeaways from Andy Avalos. He met with the media this weekend. Jamal Hill getting work at the nickel spot. Adrian Jackson sure looks like the Ducks are excited about what he can do at a multitude of linebacker positions. And who's going to be playing in the secondary? That's going to be a competition. And do those young linebackers and Justin Flo, Noah Sewell, others get involved in the two-deep quickly. Well, Justin Flo and Noah Sewell were they were playing with the number 2 defense. I'll put it that way. They were playing with the number 2 defense on Saturday. I believe, as Rob put it, the future is now. So, hey, it's a talented group that the Ducks have. Let's hear from Joe Moorhead, switching sides of the football. Oregon offensive coordinator on the quarterback battle, talking about the offensive line and what the offense might look like for the Ducks and where they're at with the install. Remember, the spring was going to be about installing Joe Moorhead's offense. Then things got put on hold. Joe Moorhead talked about that and more.
What was kind of your approach to making a connection with your players, having such a short spring and especially the young quarterbacks? What was kind of your approach to connecting and getting these guys to remote learn?
Yeah, there was certainly ample time for us to master the Zoom calls. So, we were making great progress and great headway through spring ball, I thought, and getting to install the system and getting to know the guys, and then obviously was cut short. But, like anything, as a teacher, generally speaking, they don't care how much you know till they know how much you care, and I think getting to know each kid and kind of learn a little bit about their background, where they're from, their families, all those things, and then you get into the teaching part of it. So, you try to take a little bit of each meeting and kind of make it non-football related, usually at the beginning or the end, just to kind of talk about, what's going on in their lives and things like that, and then get into the football part. But, I think for not being able to be in person for quite some time, that we were able to, do a good job building those relationships.
To the offensive line, obviously you have to replace all 5. And when we left things off in the spring, you knew you had to replace 4. How do you evaluate George Moore or TJ Bass, who, in TJ's case, nobody's seen him in full pads yet in this program. And George, you only got to see him in shells. How do you go about evaluating the position when you haven't seen these players in full pads? It's kind of the biggest thing to do for the offensive line.
Yeah, and first of all, you have utmost confidence in Coach Mirabal and Coach Cristobal with the offensive line, that you got 2 of the guys that are, the best in the business of developing them from a mentality and a fundamental and technique and a schematic standpoint. But I think that's going to be the focal point of camp, and the opportunities that we have here starting up, in pads on Monday, is just mixing and matching those guys, giving them all an opportunity to go out there and compete, knowing that we got to replace all 5. So, ultimately we'll have to decide which the starting unit is moving forward. But I think we've got plenty of time for that. And, all the guys will have a chance to put their, best foot forward and state their case for the job.
Hi, Coach. I know it's only day 2 of camp, but what has surprised you the most about this team so far? Whether it's a specific players, personnel group, Cristobal's electric whistle, what has stood out to you?
Yeah. It's kind of been gym class the first 2 days. We've been in, shirts and shorts, no pads. So, some of the physicality part of it is that'll pick up as camp goes on. But I think the thing that's impressed me the most, not only through these first 2 practices, but, throughout our time here when the kids returned, during the time we were away and when we were here in spring ball, is the culture of the program. These kids are incredibly resilient. They don't make excuses. There's a great singleness of purpose. There's an awesome camaraderie. So there's every reason in the book right now for a team or a program or a player to kind of, find a way to, make an excuse. And I think the culture of this program and our team is what I've been most impressed with so far.
Hey, Coach. One question I'm interested to know here. You're at Mississippi State. Had all kinds of playmakers, but now you're at Oregon, which is a totally different roster, totally different talent. What excites you the most about this offense in year 1?
I think the thing that excites me the most is the ability to be balanced. It's a system, historically speaking, that we've run, that we've been able to throw it and run it with equal effectiveness. And, the 2 biggest determining factors in the outcome of football games are explosive plays and turnover margin. And I see us possessing the ability to do both very well, run it and throw it. You know what I mean? And if a team's going to crowd the box, have the chance to take it over the top. And, if they're playing deep, we'll be able to run it. And through 2 practices, we've done a good job protecting the ball. So I think that the number one, the championship teams I've been on and the great teams, the mentality has been dictated by the offensive and defensive lines, and I think that's tremendous here. So I think we're going to be able to win the battles up front. But on top of that, I think we have a bunch of very good playmakers that will allow us to be balanced.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to talk with you about your offensive philosophy in terms of, you've had such great success with what you've developed and your system. When you come to a place like Oregon or, season to season at any place, how much of it is a system that you're going to run, and how much of it is like looking at the personnel and then adapting what you run to who you've got type of thing?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think it's probably a little bit of a combination of both. And a lot of it, relates. It's not what we know; it's what the players can execute. And things we talk about: is it sound? Can we teach it? And can the players execute it? In terms of a general offensive philosophy. And we've operated this system with a quarterback who can run, and maybe that be his strength. And we've operated with a quarterback who could throw, and maybe running is not his strength. So certainly, I think the best part about it is its adaptability and its kind of sophisticated simplicity where, if we have a roster that's leaning more towards being successful running the ball, we've been able to run it and maybe the pass be secondary or vice versa. So I think that we're able to tailor the scheme based on the talent that we have. And I think that's what, makes me, like I said, most excited about it, that we're going to be able to tailor this thing and I think be pretty balanced.
I think that's a cool comment, talking just about how he's approaching implementing this offense, utilizing the pieces that the Ducks have on offense. That's Joe Moorhead, the Oregon offensive coordinator. Quick timeout. We're going to hear more from him. Rexy asking, did they name the starting QB yet? No, but Tyler Shuck is beginning camp with the number 1s. Anthony Brown, the transfer from Boston College, will be with the number 2s. But this is a competition. Just like every position on the field, I think you're going to see different guys playing with different units. That's what fall camp is all about. Joe Moorhead will talk more about that, talk more about this offensive line as well. And we're going to continue hearing from the defensive side of the ball today, too. Camp is in full force. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, back inside the Country Financial Studio right after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar presents an original that's now maybe even better. Mary had a little lamb.
Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar with the same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. That's taste was as good as the original, maybe even better.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar, as good as the original, maybe even better.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Is that a faucet running?
That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio, where today's show is brought to you by North Fork Public House, open for dine-in and takeout, northforkeugene.com. They also have some beverages on tap. Just thought I'd throw that out there for everybody. Scott Phillips is here. Scott has done 3 jobs today. He has edited interviews while I've been sitting here talking to you all, and normally he's prepping interviews, putting things in the system for us. Scott does 3 jobs today. He actually edited an interview while he had one hand on the switcher to cut to a commercial break and the other hand on a mouse to edit an interview. That was Scott Phillips today. I just want everybody to know that it was like the video editor's version of doing the splits. That was what you looked like spanning your 2 desks today,
Scotty.
Scotty.
A guy at an 80s keyboard.
Guy at an 80s keyboard.
Band.
Yeah.
He's got 2
exactly.
hands on
Got 2 keyboards. That 100%. Like, you could have been playing the drums on one keyboard and the actual piano on another keyboard. So thank you, sir, for what you've done. I do. So between the 2 of us, we could be a great 80s keyboardist. Between the 2 of us. Joe Moorhead, second part of his interview, as he talked with the media about all things about the Oregon offense and just how different this offense might look, that quarterback position, offensive line, what he likes about this team. A lot of different things to discuss with offensive coordinator Joe Moorhead, part 2.
What are you looking for out of whoever wins the quarterback job? What's going to separate them from the rest of the group? And then with Shuck and Anthony Brown, what's kind of their progression from walkthrough and Zooms and now camp of getting the playbook down and kind of knowing what and why and how?
Yeah, I think there's probably a little bit of objectivity and a little bit of subjectivity to any quarterback battle. Having been in one and having been through 22 years of kind of having to choose one. So I think you talk about completion percentage, touchdown interception ratio, ability to generate plays with your feet by design or improvisation, and quite frankly moving the ball and scoring points, and then there's a little bit of how do they take control of the team, how do the players respond to them, those certain things where it's a little bit more feel. So I think it'll be a combination of those things. How are they completing the ball? Are they putting points on the board and at the same time making good decisions and protecting the ball? And then, also how the guys rally around them. So there's no exact science to it. And I think both of the guys, you see Tyler obviously sitting behind Justin and learning a lot of good football here in his time. And Anthony, a guy who's played a ton at this level, 50 career touchdown passes, I think close to 5,000 yards. So he's a guy that brings a lot of maturity to the room as well.
Joe, Coach McClendon also arrived from the SEC. What's kind of the dynamic between you two starting out together at Oregon? How's that relationship going?
No, it's been fantastic. And I was just thinking about that the other day, that the level of experience and expertise that we have in our offensive staff room, between, you mentioned Coach McClendon has been an SEC coordinator. Bobby Williams has been a head coach. Jim Mastro's called plays. Coach Mirabel's been with some very, phenomenal offensive lines. So anytime that you have a guy who's been in your chair and done it at a high level, that you're able to bounce ideas off of. And I think that's what's been great from an installation standpoint, that as we've been going through the offense over and over and over again before we've got to camp, that you've got a bunch of guys who've been successful at this level, kind of sharing ideas and getting the thing fine-tuned and kind of refined. So BMAC has been awesome. He's a great teacher. He's a great person. And, to have someone who's called plays in the SEC be in the same room with you, I think that's an incredible positive.
John, I realize nobody's offseason was anything like – no one in the world had an offseason like we've had. But for the quarterbacks going forward for this competition, have you ever had anything like – I know last year you had a grad transfer, but Tommy knew everything in your system, knew all the terminology. Here – you have a grad transfer who's going to have 4 weeks. You have a returning player who you only had 4 practices with. Have you had anything like this? And is Getsy the only other transfer quarterback you had in your career?
Luke was a transfer from Pitt. And then when I was at Fordham, Michael Niebrick, I had recruited him to UConn. And then he came down and had a stellar career there, broke almost every Fordham school passing record. So he would – Tommy and then AB would be the fourth. But just the situation, everything's put in a microwave. It's spread. Everything's got to be sped up. You know what I mean? So 4 practices for Tyler, none for AB in the spring, or the other guys for that matter. And now, there's only so many times, as you mentioned, you can go over it on Zoom, you can put it on the board, and you can talk about the plays. You got to go out there and execute it. So I think we've been very, as a staff, judicious in our installation process, knowing that it's going to be as much about the scheme and the fundamentals and technique as it is the amount of the play, so to speak. You know what I mean? So I think in a shortened down time frame, not just for the quarterbacks, but for the offense and the team in general, we're really going to have to know what we do well very quickly and get a bunch of reps of that before the same game. So I think that's the challenge for the quarterbacks and for the offense in general, that there's only so many practice opportunities, and you got to really kind of trim down what you do to what you're going to do very well, and work it over and over again.
You guys carry 6 quarterbacks this year. I know we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Tyler and Anthony. Can you evaluate, I guess, the skill sets of the other 4, and I guess maybe one of them battles for the starting job, but just if that's not the case, what value do they get, or what do you want to see from them this season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing there is you see a lot of talent and a lot of inexperience, a lot of young guys. Some do things better than others. Some are thrown in a little better. Some are running a little better. Some understand the system a little better. So with Tyler and Anthony getting the the 1s and the 2s reps, we're trying to mix all those guys in with the 3, and like everything in the program, we're just it's about player development. So making sure they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, and keep working on their fundamentals and technique, and just making sure we're developing quality depth at the position.
Of course, over your coaching career, you've had the chance to coach a bunch of really, really talented receivers. And just looking at the depth at the receiver position and in that room currently, what's it been like this offseason? Of course, it's been really weird with everything and everything over being Zoom and stuff. What has it been like just trying to evaluate the different players in that room and just kind of seeing how they fit and how ultimately you're going to utilize them come week 1?
Yeah, I mean, you get to see them run around when we were doing conditioning. So there's a bit of an evaluation of athletic ability. Not much in terms of walkthroughs aside from, assignment correctness. So I think, with what we saw in spring and building off of that, and then what we're going to do here going through camp, I think there's a bunch of guys who are capable, guys who have made plays at this level, and then some young guys behind them that have an opportunity to, do the same. So, kind of like they just need a ton of repetitions and a ton of opportunities, and, continue to get better as camp moves on.
Hey, Coach, thanks for doing this. Just curious what your assessment of the tight end position and who's standing out right now through the spring, the summer walkthroughs, and now 2 days into camp.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out is the depth of the position. You go down and, from top to bottom, there's a bunch of guys. And in the system, we want the tight end to play like a receiver when the ball's thrown to them and like an O-line to them when it's handed off. And I think, you have some guys that, are able to do both of those things well. And just like anything, it's hard for me to make a hard and fast evaluation, since we had 4 practices like 6 months ago, and now we've had 2. So I think, once again, a bunch of talent, a bunch of depth at the position, guys with varying skill sets, and we're just going to keep, firing a million reps at them and, evaluating them and, give them an opportunity to prove themselves and help us get better as an offense and a team.
Big takeaways there. The quarterback position's pretty darn talented. We're going to talk a lot about Tyler Shuck and Anthony Brown as they duke it out. You'd think for the starting position, but there could be some other guys that factor in there. And at the tight end spot, man, I got to say, I'm just excited for Cam McCormick to come back. Guy who has dealt with injuries, man, I'm so looking forward to seeing him back on the field. And that tight end group, they're pretty darn talented. It's a deep group. I totally echo what Coach Moorhead just said there. I did get a question, and I think that I did this. Yeah. Brandon, any update on the cardboard cutouts? So, Brandon, I did respond back to your comment on Facebook through Goducks. I posted the Goducks.com/fan cutouts. Goducks.com/fan cutouts. You can order your own cardboard cutout. It's kind of cool, actually. You get an option to not only put it in a seat at Autzen, but you can get one at home, too, so you can be sitting next to your cardboard version of yourself. at home also. This is the world that we live in. So yes, goducks.com/fan cutouts. A lot more information on the fan cutouts and a lot more of the sort of Autzen at home experience that I'll be telling you about over the next few weeks, and you'll be hearing from the Oregon Athletic Department. Up next, we're going to switch gears a little bit and have some fun talking with Dan Rubenstein. That's right. Oregon grad, host of the Solid Verbal. We'll talk with him after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
All it takes is one drop to make a wave. One beat to inspire a track. One spark to get creativity flowing. With every drop, Life Water refreshes your mind and restores your body. Purified water, pH balanced with electrolytes for taste. Designed with original works of art on every bottle. Let us be your source of inspiration. Life Water, the feel-good water.
This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Hundo P. Hundo P. Adjective. Short for being 100% sure or certain. As in, if we get a puppy, I'll Hundo P always walk it.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. Heard from Andy Avalos, Joe Moorhead today. If you missed it, subscribe to the Oregon Sports Network podcast. Watch the archive of the show on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Just give a search for Duck Insider and the Go Ducks YouTube, Go Ducks Facebook, Oregon Sports Network Twitter. All of the above. On Friday, we got a chance to catch up with Dan Rubenstein. Where we ended, he was telling his story about how his very first Oregon football game. And Dan, now the host of the Solid Verbal podcast, part of the Learfield IMG College family now, actually. And Dan's an Oregon grad, funny guy, and we had a lot of fun catching up with him, just talking about Oregon football, talking about the Ducks, talking about him a little bit. And where we left this interview, he was telling us about how he got lost in the pre-cell phone era in his first Oregon football game during his freshman year. So we had some fun. Part 2 of our interview with Dan Rubenstein. Dan Rubenstein from the Solid Verbal joining us. Dan, what year did you graduate again?
2005. So 2004 was my final football season.
So 2005, we got to just put like the 05 now. Anytime we allude to, because you know how they do that, like in alumni association brochures, right? Where it's like if you went to the school, they always put like parenthesis, 05 or whenever you graduate. So we're doing that for you now, forevermore. There are good tacos in the state of Oregon, correct?
Yeah, I haven't, honestly, I'll be extremely clear. I haven't been to the state of Oregon since 2012?
Why?
2011? Well, I moved to the East Coast, and I have to watch all of the college football games for my job. And so that becomes difficult to visit, to visit for a game. There's no actual really good excuse. It just becomes more difficult coming from New York or from Brooklyn than it is coming from Southern California when I lived there. And that was really fun. And I'd go up to, Stanford or Cal games. So just sort of cut the experience in half, the travel experience in half. But there are good tacos. I've had good tacos in Eugene. I've had good tacos in Portland. I don't know that I've tried tacos outside of either of those cities. But here's the thing. I feel this way about tacos, pizza, blueberry pie, whatever. People care about food everywhere. It's more difficult to find certain types of foods places, but you can get amazing pizza in Cincinnati. You definitely can. You can get amazing tacos in Maine. Like that's not a difficult thing. It's just the number of places serving them. You just have to put in a little more effort. You have to deep dive Yelp. You have to go on some message boards, and you find out about a Mexican grocery store in like West Eugene that has a little taco stand in the back, and you're thrilled. So yes, I've had good tacos in Oregon, can confirm.
Tacos still your favorite food?
Probably. Yeah. Just because they're so versatile, you can mix up salsas and fillings and proteins and vegetables. Yeah, especially when on a fresh tortilla on a griddle, the magic of the taco, the different spices, that really, I'm hearing laughter. I take taco very serious.
Scott, our producer and director, is laughing. The magic of the taco.
The magic of the taco is very real.
So, yeah, the reason that I bring this up, obviously, I have listened to the Solid Verbal. I have talked to Dan a couple times before.
It says eat more tacos on this pennant right behind me.
Good. I gotta say, so if I told like 15, 16-year-old Dan Rubenstein that this is what you'd be doing for a living, what would he have said?
He would have been thrilled. He would have been absolutely thrilled. Growing up, my goal was to make things. And I thought for a long time I was going to try to become a comedy writer. Growing up in LA, I wanted to write for TV shows. I love TV. I love movies. And the reason I started doing the gig at Sports Illustrated was I thought I was going to get a job on the now legendary show The Office. I was going to get a job as a writer's assistant, sort of like a gopher. You get them donuts, you take notes about scripts and stuff like that. I thought I was going to get the gig, and it went to somebody else, and they said, okay, well, we're also working on a show with Andy Richter, and you'll definitely get a writer's assistant gig on that. And I was like, cool. And then the show with Andy Richter didn't get picked up, so they didn't hire anybody. And I said, well, look, I can't get a job getting people donuts. I might as well try doing my own thing. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And I can always come back and get people donuts. So I took that chance, and I made the show on my own, and then I sold it to Sports Illustrated the following season. And so I would have been thrilled to be making funny things for money, traveling the world, traveling the country, and eating. But yeah, it was host a game show, write for a TV show, or just in general make things and hopefully be about sports. So absolutely thrilled.
And it worked out. Dan Rubenstein. Okay. The best team in Oregon football history is?
2012. So Marcus Mariota's freshman year, Chip is still in town. The defense was more efficient than any defense Oregon, I think, has had since. It depends on the metric you look at, because obviously last year's defense was, especially by the end of the year, just lights out. Mm-hmm. But the depth on that defense, the NFL talent on that defense, I want to say DeForest Buckner was a freshman, or was very young on that team. And so the rotation guys were excellent. The starters were excellent. They pulled away from teams, not just because of Mariota, because he was still a little green, but that defense, if you remember, I think it was the ASU game, the interceptions run back for touchdowns. That full experience was such a joy, that 2012 team.
I'm glad that you said that, because I will go to my grave until there's a team that eclipses that one, that I say that is the best team, because of all the reasons you just mentioned, and really apart from one blip on the radar. I mean, they didn't, like you said, they didn't just pull away from teams. I mean, they crushed teams. They demoralized teams. So, Dan,
by the way, I watched that Stanford game at a bar in Madison, Wisconsin, and somebody took a picture of me sad at the end of the game and posted it online. And I don't think I've ever been more violated as a fan than having that moment revealed to the world. It was super creepy. I was just wanting to eat my cheese curds and be sad in peace.
Cheese curds do feel like the right thing to eat in Madison, Wisconsin, when you're wallowing in sad fandom.
Yeah,
that's about right.
Also, Zach Ertz was out of bounds, so it's not like
he was out of bounds.
I haven't harbored this over the years.
Are you more upset that Ertz was out of bounds or that Dyer was down?
Oh, Dyer being down. Dyer being down because I was on the sideline. I was mere feet from his down wrist. And so that has haunted me to this day more than Zach Ertz. I mean, there was a block or a not block in that 2012 Stanford game as well, but the Dyer thing, that was tough, because I physically felt the orange and blue Auburn confetti rained down upon my shoulders. So that was more personal.
Yeah, I was on the sideline when the Ohio State confetti was coming down, and that was no fun.
Not great. Not great. At least that game, at the end of that game, it wasn't the most competitive situation. Like, you had an idea about what was going to happen, but I raced down to the field from the press box for the Auburn-Oregon game because I think it was a forced fumble that sort of turned the tide. Yeah, Casey Matthews, forced fumble, and then touchdown, 2-point conversion in the back of the end zone. Jeff Mayle?
It was
maybe?
Jeff Mayle. You're right.
Jeff Mayle. It flipped my juices back to a positive place, and then to be let down by the Dyer run was unpleasant. No pun intended.
Well, let's not. That was a good pun.
See, that's why I'm good. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah, that was a good pun. Unfortunately for Eddie, that was a good pun. Dan, I got to tell you, I could talk to you for hours. This has been a lot of fun catching up with you. And good luck the rest of the way. I'm excited for the next evolution of the Solid Verbal. Congrats on all your success. It's always cool to see another Duck do well. And especially selfishly in broadcasting, I'm like, yeah, go Ducks.
You don't want to talk more about like the deeply underrated Ducks that I still remember loving throughout the year? You have Bryce Littlejohns.
You have 1 minute. Go.
I have 1 minute. Okay. The year was 2005. Blair Willis, inside linebacker. He was fantastic. I think Darren Thomas is an all-time underrated Duck considering the success he had. Love the evolution of Aaron Gibson and Justin Finney because they struggled early and then they're really like were turning teams over by the ends of their career. Connie Benoit, I think. Connie Benoit. If he plays in a more recent era, perhaps he's a terrific starting running back. I think. Right. I this keeps me up nights, Joey.
Does it really?
Yeah, I think about guys who were like really impressive contributors who just were overshadowed a little bit. I do. I brought up Bryson Littlejohn in 2020, the year of our Lord. Come on.
Dan loves an underdog is what I'm hearing. All right, that was great. Dan Rubenstein, thanks for the time. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll have to do this again, hopefully for another national championship or something like that.
Anytime. I'm ready.
Dan Rubenstein, he's a Duck, as you can tell, a really funny guy. I always love catching up with him, the host of The Solid Verbal. You can subscribe to The Solid Verbal podcast where you get your podcasts, much like if you're subscribing to the Oregon Sports Network podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Man, what a show. That was busy, and we still have a few other things to cover. Stick with us. More coming up. Updates from football practice after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. I want to be a warm fleece on a cold I want to day. be a football I want to be stadium. a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Back on Nugget Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. Time for your 2-minute drill, always brought to you by Cafe Yum as we finish things up for the day. Cardboard cutouts. GoDucks.com/fan cutouts. That's right, GoDucks.com/fan cutouts. Filling up Autzen Stadium, hopefully with dogs. Yeah, John Brewer, Assistant AD for Marketing, said last week that we'd have a pet section. So I asked this. What's going to be the weirdest pet that we see in a fan cutout at Autzen Stadium? And does anybody have a pet duck that they can put on their fan cutout? If someone has a pet duck that they can put on their fan cutout, I challenge you. Heck, I'll help you pay for it.
Wow.
Send me an email. My email is on GoDucks.com. Look at the staff directory. On Twitter,
should be good.
On Twitter at JoeyMacUO. You can find me there too. I'm serious. If somebody has a pet duck, that'd be pretty cool.
What is the strangest pet we're going to see out there?
I don't know. Like, in Florida, did anybody have a pet alligator and they send in a picture of an alligator to put on? I don't know. That's what I mean. This is the kind of fun thing. Obviously, we'd love to have everybody at Autzen Stadium. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, believe me, we all want everybody to be back at Autzen Stadium. But the fan cutouts would be kind of cool. So that's part one. Part two, Isaac Slade-Matautia, he met with the media today, as did Jordan Scott and Verone McKinley. Some updates from them because we didn't have time to get to them on the show today. We'll do it for you tomorrow. Slade said that he's actually moved over to play the will linebacker spot where Troy Dye played last year. So that's interesting, kind of taking on that leadership role similar to what Troy did over the last few years. Verone McKinley said that he's comfortable playing free safety, comfortable playing nickel. Jamal Hill's been getting some run at nickel. Jordan Happel's going to get some run for the Ducks in the secondary, the transfer from Boise State. And Tyler Shuck, Anthony Brown, someone's going to play quarterback. And I think either of them are pretty darn good. Those were kind of the big updates from practice today as Oregon was in shells on the practice field. 2-minute drill is brought to you by Cafe Yum Restaurants, Federal Oregon and Washington, serving Northwest-inspired catering and takeout for your next gathering or meeting. Menus, cafeyum.com. I'm actually having a Yum Bowl for dinner tonight. True story. Tomorrow on the show, Jordan Scott, Isaac Slade-Matautia, Verone McKinley. A few other things, too. Fall camp's here, buddy.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing.
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to